Tonight, we're going to explore a quiet idea in gardening, an idea that sits just beneath the surface of soil, air, and light. It's an idea about invisible forces, subtle energies, and the long relationship between plants and the fields that surround them. This is a story about electroculture, not as a promise and not as a miracle, but as a gentle curiosity that has appeared again and again throughout the history of agriculture. As you listen, there's nothing you need to remember and nothing you need to decide. You can simply let the story unfold slowly, the way roots move quietly through the soil. When people talk about electroculture, they're usually referring to a simple idea, that plants, like all living things, exist within and respond to natural electrical and magnetic fields. The earth itself generates a magnetic field. The atmosphere carries electrical charge. Lightning, solar radiation, and cosmic forces constantly interact with the planet, and plants, rooted and still, have evolved entirely within this environment. Electroculture asks a quiet question. What happens when we acknowledge those forces in the garden? Long before modern instruments existed, farmers noticed subtle patterns. Plants growing near iron fences sometimes behaved differently. Crops responded after thunderstorms. Certain locations produced stronger growth season after season without an obvious explanation. In the 18th and 19th centuries, scientists and agricultural thinkers began experimenting gently with metals, magnets, and atmospheric electricity. Not to force growth, but to observe it. Some placed copper rods into the soil. Others stretched wire upward into the air. Many simply watched how plants responded after natural electrical events. The results were inconsistent, but intriguing enough to keep the question alive. To understand electroculture, it helps to think differently about soil. Soil is not inert. It is not dead matter. It is alive with microorganisms, minerals, water, air, and movement. Within soil, tiny electrical exchanges are constantly occurring between roots and fungi, between microbes and minerals, between moisture and charged particles. Plants communicate chemically, but also electrically, very slowly and very subtly. Roots respond to gradients, to moisture, to nutrients, and possibly to energy itself. Magnets often enter electroculture conversations quietly, not as tools of force, but as tools of curiosity. Magnets influence charged particles. They affect iron. They shape invisible fields. Some gardeners place magnets near seedlings. Others bury them shallowly in the soil. Many notice nothing at all, and that matters. Electroculture is not about guarantees. It is about observation. In some cases, plants appear unaffected. In others, subtle differences are noticed over time. The key is not control, but attention. Within permaculture, there is a familiar principle: observe and interact. Electroculture fits quietly within this ethic. It asks us to notice how plants respond to their environment, how invisible systems shape visible outcomes, and how complexity resists simple answers. Rather than treating plants as machines to optimize, electroculture invites a slower relationship, one where experimentation is gentle, reversible, and respectful. It's also important to be clear about what electroculture is not. It is not a shortcut. It is not a replacement for soil health. It does not override water, sunlight, or biology. Healthy soil still matters. Diversity still matters. Time still matters. Electroculture, if it matters at all, matters quietly, as one influence among many. Whether electroculture proves powerful or simply poetic, it offers something valuable. It reminds us that not everything important is visible, Not every system can be optimized, and not every relationship needs an outcome. Sometimes gardening is about participation rather than results, about listening rather than fixing. As you rest now, consider this. Plants have always lived within forces we cannot see. They have adapted slowly and patiently, without urgency. Perhaps electroculture is less about changing plants and more about changing how we pay attention. Not louder and not faster, but quieter, like roots growing in the dark. And with that thought, you can let the story fade as the garden continues its work unseen.